Hi, Matthew Superstars. It's Mrs. R, and I thought I would go outside and get some sunshine. I hope you guys get a chance to do that this week as well. So where are we with EERIE Elementary? We are on what I'm calling Part 4, which is at the start of Chapter 13. It's called Warm Mouth. If you remember, right where we left off, the stage had opened up through a trap door, and Sam's heart was pounding because his friends, Antonio and Lucy, were dangling on wires. I'm going to try to see if you guys can see that. High above this stage. So we start off with Chapter 13. It's called Warm Mouth. Worm, like the worms in your garden, right? Swish! The big red curtain swooshed shut. The audience gasped. They could no longer see the stage. A closet door banged open behind Sam. Then the floorboards lifted up to form a slide. Miss Grinker and the other students tumbled backwards into the closet. And I know it's a little tricky with the reflection. I hope you guys can still see it. From offstage, Mr. Nakobe yelled, "Sam, it's happening!" He ran toward Sam, but the curtain ropes grabbed hold of him. The ropes flung Mr. Nakobe inside the closet too. The door snapped shut. Oh my gosh, everyone's trapped, right? Next, the lights went out. Only one spotlight stayed on Sam. It was pointed at Sam, Lucy, and Antonio. The audience can't see the stage, and the teachers and students are trapped in the closet, Sam thought. I'm the only one who can save everyone. The chair mouth began to climb out of its hole in the floor, like a worm coming up out of the ground. Do you guys see that? It looks like the chair, the bottom of the chair, the legs are like coming out of all the floorboards that sprung up. Lucy and Antonio began kicking and screaming. "What is that?" Lucy yelled. Antonio thrashed on his wire, trying to get away from the huge teeth. As he swung, his lucky peanut butter and jelly sandwich slipped from his pocket. It fell down into the giant mouth. The sandwich splattered against the chair teeth. And the teeth again are just the legs. Sam got an idea. "I'll be back," he shouted up to his friends. "Don't leave us, Sam," Lucy cried. She was fiddling with her wire, trying to untie herself. "Just trust me," Sam said. He leapt over the giant mouth. Everyone in the audience gasped as Sam jumped out from behind the closed curtain. He sprinted out of the dark auditorium and into the hallway. Here's a picture of Sam. When Sam reached the end of the hall, he pushed open the lunchroom door. It was quiet and dark, but as soon as Sam stepped inside, the lunchroom came alive. The chairs shook, the long tables buckled up and down, and the ceiling lamps swung. A deep moaning sound came from a speaker on the wall. EERIE Elementary was howling, and the noise it was making sounds like "Murgh." Sam needed to get into the kitchen, but every step he took seemed to make the school angrier. Packages of cookies exploded, tables flipped over, light bulbs above his head shattered. Suddenly, the vending machine began firing bottles of water at him. One blasted Sam in the chest, knocking him back. "I'll never make it all the way to the kitchen," he thought, unless... Here's a picture of the water bottles attacking Sam. Sam thought back to his training. He remembered Antonio telling him to use what was around him. Sam leapt to his feet, grabbed an orange lunch tray and held it over his chest. He hopped up on the table and sprinted down the length of it. As he charged toward the kitchen, the vending machine fired off more water bottles, but now he's got the lunch tray as protection, right? The bottles bounced off his shield. Sam jumped off the end of the table, hit the ground, and rolled into the kitchen. Then he saw it, the one thing that could save his friends. Chapter 14. Eat this. Sam stared up at a giant drum of peanut butter. It was stacked high atop a table full of food supplies, he shook the table and jumped back. Jars of secret sauce and cans of soup crashed to the ground along with the peanut butter drum. And here's a picture of, see how huge that peanut butter drum is? Sam rolled the drum out through the lunchroom door. He gave it a heavy push. It barreled down the hall, clearing a path. Pow! The drum knocked a monstrous chair out of the way. Boom! The drum sent a spinning trash can flying. Clam! 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 The drum blasted through a set of locker doors. The peanut butter drum crushed everything in its way. At last, Sam made it backstage with the drum. Lucy ran toward him. "Lucy," Sam yelled, "how'd you get down?" "I was able to untie myself, but I couldn't reach Antonio. He's still stuck, and—" Sam pushed the drum toward the stage and looked up. The giant mouth had grown larger. It was now made of hundreds of folding chairs that together formed 100 teeth. 2 of the teeth had hold of Antonio's green pants. Any second now, he would be eaten alive. "Help!" yelled Antonio. "Sam, what can we do?" asked Lucy. "Follow my lead." The mouth was about to chomp into Antonio. Just then, Sam shouted, "Hey, EERIE Elementary, are you hungry?" The monstrous chair mouth turned away from Antonio. It faced Sam and Lucy and let out a growl. Roar! Sam and Lucy didn't flinch. They stood perfectly still. The mouth opened wider. Did you see that? The giant roar. Lucy grabbed hold of Sam's arm. Sam held his breath. A giant mouth charged toward them. The stage floorboards were breaking apart. Sam stared into the center of the chomping, thrashing mouth. It was upon them now. Sam screamed. Together, Sam and Lucy kicked the heavy peanut butter drum as hard as they could. It bowled across the stage, right into the giant mouth. The teeth chomped down on the drum, and it says supersized peanut butter. Do you guys see all the chair teeth? The drum burst open, and gallons of peanut butter flew everywhere. The peanut butter was gumming up the monster's mouth. The chewing slowed, then stopped. Lucy and Sam bumped fists. "You did it," Antonio shouted up from up high. "I couldn't have done it without you two," said Sam, smiling. The sticky mouth slipped back down through the trapdoor. The trapdoor closed. The floor returned to normal. It was over. EERIE Elementary was silent. Then, all of a sudden, the stage curtains swooshed open. Chapter 15. Sam Graves, Hall Monitor. The lights came on. The closet door opened. Mr. Grinker, Mr. Nakobe, and the students stumbled out. For a moment, everyone was quiet. The audience looked around confused. Miss Grinker walked out on stage. Let's have a hand for the kids. The play was amazing," she said. Sam's mom started clapping. "Wonderful job, Sam," she yelled. Soon everyone was clapping. No one had any idea what just happened. Lucy helped Antonio down from his wire. Then he whispered to Sam, "Now what?" Sam smiled, said, "Now we take our bow." Here's a picture of the teachers and the 3 kids. Backstage, the students were changing out of their costumes. Mr. Nakobe took Sam aside. "You did well tonight, Sam Graves," he said. "Everyone here is in good hands." Then he walked away. Sam ran over to his friends. He burst out, "I told you guys the school was alive. Now do you believe me?" Antonio and Lucy were talking so fast that Sam could hardly understand them. He laughed and said, "Guys, relax. I'll tell you everything." And he did. As they were waiting out in front for their parents, Sam told their friends everything there was to tell about EERIE Elementary. The school cast long shadows lit by the moon. 2 large windows were open, and inside 2 lights burned like eyes watching the 3 best friends. Here's a picture of those eyes. Sam reached into his backpack. He felt the hall monitor sash that just a few days earlier he had been embarrassed to wear. Now he had a strange urge to put it on. He knew it wouldn't be long before EERIE Elementary would strike again. And that, you guys, is the end of the first book of EERIE Elementary series, The School is Alive. There are some quick questions kind of at the end. It says, how much do you know about EERIE Elementary? The school is alive. Quicksand is a compound word. A compound word is made up of two words that come together and make a new word. What is quicksand? Use what you know about quick and sand to figure out the meaning. Can you guys figure it out? Quick and sand, quicksand, right? It was the sand that quickly, once you step in it, will trap you, will kind of suck you down into it. Who is Mr. Nakopi and how does he help Sam? And he was a former hall monitor, right? He's now the custodian at EERIE Elementary. How does Antonio Sandwich help Sam save everyone? You guys remember? What quality does peanut butter have, right? It's sticky, right? Oh, and it traps the mouth because it's kind of like glue, right? Would you want to be hall monitor? Use examples from the book to write why or why not. So I'm going to leave you guys right there with that question. Would you want to be hall monitor? It's a big responsibility. You got to make sure everyone is walking safely to and from class. You got to help students get to their classes if they're new and don't know which directions to go to. You got to make sure that everyone is safe in case of like a fire drill, that they go right to their classrooms. So it's a big responsibility. How did you like this book? If you could let your teacher know if it was a thumbs up and kind of in between, neither an up or a down, just kind of what I call the meh thumb. It was okay, Mrs. R, right? It was okay thumb. Or was it a big thumbs down? Let your teacher know, let Mr. Rand know, and then we'll see. But I hope that one day when you guys are back here at Matthews Elementary, you guys pick up the EERIE Elementary series, because like I said, we have about 8 to 10 books and they're all different episodes. Well, the school is alive, right? Kind of fun. Hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead. Get outside if you can, because the weather is just gorgeous and we all need a little vitamin D. And I'll see you next week with another story. Bye.